I have an issue and it's really pissing me off, and I need to get this off my chest. Do a podcast, they said. You can do it in your pajamas, they said. What they didn't say was what a pain in the arse the technology is. Now, there's all this tech that is out there that's supposed to make podcasting easier. And if you're thinking of doing a podcast, let me just give you a quick rundown of all the crap that's out there and some of the issues that for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, electronics and we just don't mix, whereas other people can take like a regular iPhone and a camera, a microphone, and they can make it look like a Oscar winning movie. For me, it always looks like I'm making a home movie in the 1980s. The sound, there's always something going on with the sound. Let me tell you about the microphone situation. So first of all, I've got this one mic I've been using for a long time. But the pop filters, it's so sensitive. I don't know why. I even had to buy a pop filter and it didn't make any difference. So then what I did was I got this other Blue Yeti mic, which had a lot of great reviews. And even that I had issues with it. And then the software that was coming with it just kept crashing my computer with all of the million little pop-up windows that would say stuff like, "Oh, we can't open the bloody program." Now I have switched to a Shure MV6, so we will see. We will see whether this has any better results, has a better longevity. That's for in studio, of course. And then, of course, I've got the episodes when I'm out and about. For those, I use this Rode microphone system. Now, I'm not being paid, obviously, to promote anyone's system, but out of all of the ones that I looked at, Rode on the Go. I think it's on the Go 2. Initially I just used one, but I've been using this one that comes with two packs, so that one for your interviewer and one for the interviewee. And it records everything separately so that in case there's some issue with the signal going to the phone or the camera system, you actually have it recorded natively inside the pack. And I thought, well, that's a good idea. So, and I bring this up because this is something that happened. It came with not Rode lapel mics, and I don't know why, but the mics that came with this particular kit that I bought were these things called pop mics that just seemed to have a lot of distortion and weird sounds when I was using them. And so what I'm trying to say is this episode has a lot of great information and a lot of shitty sound. And I'm sorry. I am doing my best to try and make this sound better. And then, oh, by the way, here's the other thing, right? So then when you get the stuff, there are these programs out there like Descript and Riverside and these kind of podcast interviewing AI/AI programs that can make life easy for you. And they can, except that my Mac is a little older. It's like 10 years old. I know, 10 years old. It's just so hard for me to get rid of it. And we're going to have a birthday party for my Mac, actually. And for some reason, Riverside, which will only work on Chrome, it just completely uses my entire CPU, which means that I have to keep stopping it, going back, restarting it. So everything just takes forever. Now, I don't mean to bitch, because actually Riverside has been kind of awesome. There's a lot of awesome features that I've been using to kind of make the sound that ended up being shitty way better, thanks to that AI system, and then also editing out the ums and the ahs and doing it that way. But all of the technology that's out there that is designed to make it easier for podcasters just seems to have issues. So when it comes to the interview that you're about to hear with a mate of mine, Phil LeConte, otherwise known as Silly Phil, who is a producer of comedy festivals, a hirer of many acts, and just a brilliant businessman. It all seemed so good. I had my Rode Go microphone backup systems. I did have the pop mics. That was an issue. And then for some reason, halfway through the interview, one side of it I think it was my microphone, just stopped recording altogether. So I couldn't quite figure out why. So what's going to happen here is that half of this interview is going to sound okay. Not great, because these pop mics were not great. But half of it's going to sound okay. The other half of the interview, however, is going to be like really nice sound for one of us and kind of echoey on the other. I'm going to try and use some AI to fix it, but just so you know, I am aware of the audio issues that seem to come and go and plague me. I am trying to find the most perfect kit and combination. And when I do, you'll know the difference. You will absolutely know the difference. So now I've got that off my chest, shall we start? Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Magicians Only. Are you a magician? It doesn't bloody matter. Haven't you figured that out by now? This is a podcast for you, for anyone who loves magic and performing and the arts. This is for you. As always, Magicians Only is sponsored by Magic on the Go. Almost 1,000 videos in your pocket teaching you everything that you need to know about magic and maybe just a little bit more that you didn't maybe need to know. Anyway, it's all there for you. Go to magiconthego.com, check it out. It's only my life's work, nothing to worry about. A couple of quick things before we start this incredible interview. Number one, obviously this podcast is a passion project of mine and I love sharing this information, but it would help us enormously if rather than just kind of popping in and out occasionally, if you could like, share and subscribe. That helps us move up in the rankings. Seriously, if you could do that, I'll make you a promise. If you could like, share and subscribe this episode and help us move up in the rankings, I promise you I will continue to bring you absolutely free, incredible interviews, amazing stories that will curl your toes, and some very explicit stuff that you don't hear other magicians talk about, like today's episode. So like, share, and subscribe. Quick word to everyone, this is very much an adult episode. Listener, what's the term?
Parental advisory, listener advisory, mature content.
Yeah. Hey everybody, quick parental advisory. If you have kids in the car, this might not be the episode for you. We are, well, as you know, Magic on the Go, we have a explicit label for a reason. So I would use your discretion. What is it they say? Listener discretion is advised. All right, so I'm here in Toronto, California. How's that for a Freudian slip? I'm here in Toronto, Canada, for my sins. We are buried in snow, and it's March. I've met this fabulous guy out here. His name's Phil LeConte. Phil is a performer of many talents, of many disciplines, and he goes by the name of Silly Phil. You can check him out on Instagram and Facebook. Check out Silly Phil. He's hilarious, and he's got great bits of business, one of which he gave me for my die box, and I'm not going to tell you. He's not a magician, and I think one of the things that magicians need to do, and I'm very guilty of this myself, is we need to talk to and listen to everyone who's in entertainment and their experiences and advice, not just other magicians. It's what keeps us so polarized. It's what keeps us so compartmentalized. It's like, let's move with the program a little bit here, guys, and learn from everybody. So Phil is an entertainer. He's a juggler. He is a producer of comedy festivals and a brand new world's first magic festival that we're going to talk about that I'm also a part of, and which we're very, very excited about. So I've had the opportunity to watch this guy perform. I've had the opportunity to watch him take a concept, an idea, and turn it into a living, breathing magic festival, complete with sponsors, hotels. And I wouldn't even know how to approach that. Phil is going to tell us. We're going to pick his brain. We're going to see if we can get as much information. Also, just a little tip. Phil has worked with a lot of magicians. Some he likes, some he doesn't. Hopefully I can squeeze some genuine stories out from him. You'll just have to try and guess who the magician is, because we won't be able to use their names, obviously, for legal purposes. So please welcome to the studio, Silly Phil himself, Phil LeConte. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Steve.
Hello, mate. How are you?
This is a magic podcast?
Ish.
I think I'm at the wrong podcast.
I think you are.
I think
we need to be quick because the magicians are approaching. They're surrounding the house with pitchforks.
Well, let's not tell them who I am exactly then.
Well, yeah. I mean, we are, a lot of people, here's the thing about jugglers. I don't know if you know this, but at a magic convention, like the juggler's always the one that gets the standing ovation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But because it's different, right?
Because it's different, and we appreciate someone who actually practices and works on their craft.
I mean, Colin and I would go to a juggling convention and do a non-juggling routine and get written up in Juggler's World. Do you know? Like,
really?
Yeah.
Like, it's always the magician at the Juggler's convention.
It's the same thing. So there's not that many differences. Also, I'm not a great juggler, by the way, so...
I don't know. I
wouldn't call myself a juggler.
But I mean, you've got so many disciplines. They always say that the most dangerous kind of magician is one who used to be a juggler. I know that you're not a magician, but they do say that because jugglers have to have a discipline to practice, right? You can't fake
juggling.
Well, this is why I'm not a good juggler. Because,
okay. You don't practice?
It's not that I don't practice. It's just that, I don't practice anymore. No.
I was looking at the list of stuff on your website. I was looking at the list of stuff that it says that you do. So you're the yo-yo guy.
I mean, right? I do yo-yo, yes.
Right. You do what on the website you called it like a yo-yo but bigger. That was
the Diablo, yeah. That's
in order to get the public to understand what a Diablo is.
Yeah.
It's like a yo-yo, but if you took the two halves, broke them apart, glue them back to back, and then made them 10 times bigger. The Diablo is really exciting to watch, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a very exciting.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, no, not anymore. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess if it's the first time you're seeing anything, I think it's exciting.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I think the difference between a yo-yo and a Diablo is there's nostalgia attached to a yo-yo.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what age you are. At some point in your life, you have seen or interacted with a yo-yo.
Do you think that's important? I mean, that's kind of interesting. Everyone knows what it feels like to pick up a yo-yo, try it once, it doesn't come back up, you're disappointed as fuck, and then you move on with your life. Right?
Yeah, I think that helps you look much better than you are, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. But again, it is kind of just that. Like if everyone could do it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody on stage would be doing it. If everyone could juggle 5 balls, right? Like if we were forced to or whatever. I mean, it wouldn't be traveling circuses and like whatever.
I think this is why magicians like to keep their secrets, because a lot of magic is self-working and easy and everybody can do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and we're not special if everybody can do it.
Well, and magic to me is just like way more practice, right? Like to be good, it's almost like it takes much longer, in my opinion, to learn something. Right? Like,
well, I think with magic, you got to like learn it and then you have to hide what you've learned. And that's the difference. Like when you're a juggler, right? And you get skill, you're like, look at my skill. Look how good I am. This is very skillful.
Yeah. I think the whole like jugglers versus magicians nonsense, a lot of it has to do with you can walk into a magic shop and buy a magic trick and call yourself a magician.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah.
But you can. You can't just walk in and grab 5 items off the counter and throw them in the air and keep them, right? Like,
and call yourself a juggler. Yeah.
So I think there is that whole thing. Also, I mean, again, jugglers just sort of, the ones that I had met and whatever else seem to be a bit more sort of like outgoing or more like, I don't know, boisterous, where magicians are sort of like in their head more and they're sort of like I'm not an expert on any, and I'm totally stereotyping or basing it on my experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole...
but your experience is vast when it comes to working with magicians. I mean, you've been performing for how many years now?
35. I'm not telling you.
All right,
it'll
so
make me sound
30
old.
years, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm saying about years. That's only years. But you've worked, and you've worked with every kind of audience, haven't you? I mean, you do street shows, you've done like comedy clubs, corporate events. Is there something you haven't done?
I mean, haven't done as a performer or haven't done as a producer?
As a performer.
No, because I mean, I started working on the street. That sounds terrible, but like doing like as a busker, right? And when that's where you're learning everything, you have to do everything, right? Like there's no sound guy, there's no tech, there's no writer, there's nothing, you're on your own. You have to stop people, get them to watch what you're doing, and convince them to pay you. That takes a lot.
Yeah.
And there's only a few people who can do it successfully. And luckily we had enough work that we sort of hit the prime of like, there was like hundreds of those festivals that you could work, right?
Around the world.
The world, yeah. Like,
and they would fly you in to perform, or sometimes you'd have to do your own, because there's different kinds of festivals for magicians and jugglers, right? There's the ones that fly you in, actually pay your expenses, but you're allowed to hat.
Yeah.
And there are those where you're not allowed to hat, but they'll give you a fee, right?
Yeah, I mean, the street performer festivals usually relied on you making money passing your hat, right? But the good ones still understood that if it rained, you made nothing. If the people weren't there, you made nothing. So you would usually get your expenses covered, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think anyone, I mean, maybe when you were first starting out, you would take shittier deals for shittier gigs.
Because you want the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the reason that quality stand-up comedians will work for $25 or $50 just to get the stage time, right? Like, to me, that's insane.
Yeah, it's something I've noticed. I as a magician, because I was right by the Magic Castle as well. You know, I would get up, I would do shows there all the time. But the idea of just getting up and doing shows for free, even for stage time.
Yeah, it's hard. But I mean, I think it comes down to the biggest difference. Like, I mean, stand-up comedy is like a totally different animal on its own. There are so many stand-up comics. Like, anyone with virtually no training can walk up to a microphone. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's that easy.
And we've seen it.
Yeah,
like,
but
you go to an open mic night or something like that, and you can see that. But have you done just stand-up?
No, I have not. I've not.
You ever written a bit that's just a stand-up bit without any props?
I mean, most of my, like, in my later years, I started writing all of my props out of my routines, so they kind of became comedy bits.
Right.
But a lot of times they involved a prop in some way, shape, or form, and I don't. But the time in between, the jokes in between, and the more I did it, and the more I felt comfortable, like telling stories and stuff like that, I think you could have pulled just the verbal stuff out of the show. It would have been much shorter, right? Like, that's the thing. It's hard to write 10 minutes. Like, 10 minutes is fucking tough if you have no props and you have no way to, like,
I can't imagine going on stage and just doing 10 minutes into a microphone. Like, that terrifies me. And I've been performing since I was a kid.
Right.
But just not having a prop to hide behind or to use as a crutch,
and it's
I'll
so
admit
crazy.
it.
Stand-up comedians, some of them are just blown away that we had the time or the energy or the skills to find time to learn this thing that they're enamored with. Yeah. Right? So, and there is some crossover. Like, there are some stand-up comedians who are super magic nerds, right? Like, and I'm sure there's magicians.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I don't know if magicians like comedy, but...
I don't know if that's the quote of the episode right there.
Well, no,
you know who don't like comedy? Comedy magicians.
Well, that's the other thing. To me,
that's a term
that's part of my disdain for magicians is... You're never just a magician. You're always a comedy magician. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no, you're not. Right? Like, just do your thing.
You're not doing 30 minutes to stand up and then doing 30 minutes of magic.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a comedian, right? I would say that I'm a variety performer. Yeah. Right? That's it. Because
I mean, there's a situation that happened recently of someone I know got fired off of a cruise ship because they said, and he's great, and they said, look, you're very funny when you do your magic. And he's like, thanks, because he killed, right?
Right.
And they're like, but you're more of a comedian than a magician, and we need a magician for this spot.
And I mean, that makes total sense to me. That makes total sense to me.
That makes sense to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe he does like 4 tricks in 40 minutes. And their idea of a magician is you've got to do 40, which is what I do.
So this
like
is
nonstop.
Like, the craziest thing is that if I had any other skills that were sort of top 1% in the world, I wouldn't try to be a comedian, right? Like, I wouldn't try to be funny. Yeah. Like, the fact that I'm okay at some skills and okay at writing stuff, that is the only reason I have a career. Also, my career started mostly before the internet.
Right.
Right? Like...
Yeah, pre-internet career.
Exactly. So it was all word of mouth, and it was all sort of like insane stories about people doing crazy shit that nobody would ever want to catch on video. Right?
Which is why, I mean, everyone's so careful now, or the stuff is so staged. But I'd love to...
It sucks.
My God, man. I mean, I have amazing memories of crazy shit that happened. But you're working... But let's talk about some of the stuff that's happened to you out doing shows. I know that you and Billy Kidd went up to FISM. We'll get to that, because I know you were the lady magician assistant, which is a whole other thing we got to talk about. But as a performer, like... What's some of the craziest shit that's come your way, that's been thrown at you, that you've had to handle? Most people would just be like, I'm out.
I don't know. That's a loaded question, because I gotta start remembering things.
Let me guide you. Let me take you into your mind palace right now.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you're in Mexico. You've gone to do this long gig in Mexico. I know that there was a bunch of magicians. I should emphasize that Phil doesn't hate magicians. Some magicians frustrate the shit out of him. And there's many, many reasons.
No, it's just magicians. I mean, magicians are a breed of people that I just don't have time for mostly.
The fact that we're doing this interview is a fucking miracle.
Well, no, it's not a miracle because I'm only doing it for shameless self-promotion for this magic festival that we're going to talk about.
Are you using me?
100%.
Are you using me
yes.
to promote the festival?
Yeah, totally.
That's all right. I'm proud of the festival.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it. All right. I'm going to get this out of you. So you're in Mexico. What year did you do those Mexico gigs?
Oh, so Mexico was a weird gig. It was great. It was run by this like weird agent in the U.S. Who was a performer who landed these series of resort shows. So year-round, 4 performers would be in Playa del Carmen and being driven to like doing resort shows. It's basically like cruise ship shows, but at resorts.
Yeah.
And so there was always 4 performers there, and you were usually there like 4 to 6 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. So you're sharing accommodations and you're getting taken.
And you would have magicians and jugglers and variety
hypnotists and variety acts and.
Yeah. Was it in a theater? Was it like an outside cabaret kind of venue?
There was 14 resorts, and every resort was different. Some had like massive theaters, some had little nightclubs, some had bars, some had outdoor piazza spaces. It was like it was sort of like a choose your own adventure, right? Okay. So it was great for someone like me who came from the street many years ago.
And you're just used to taking whatever gets thrown at you.
And that's
right?
it. Also,
I think that's really part also of like being a real entertainer is being able to handle any situation.
I've always said it's very easy to go from the street to the stage, and it's not the same the other way around. Yeah. Like you take any street performer or anyone who has done any sort of like, I don't know, like do it yourself kind of build your own audience kind of work, like run your own space, that kind of thing, and put them on a stage in a theater full of people, they are going to destroy.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like there is the pressure of having those people come and having them stay and having them pay and all that kind of stuff is gone.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So the street performers that they hired for those gigs were fairly successful. Also, we had like no ego. Like we weren't being paid all that much.
Everyone knew
we were there to have a good time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we were being paid way more than the local support, like the local staff and whatever. Yeah. But it was fun. You got to like work on new bits and new material, and it was a really awesome gig. And it allowed me to write so much material because you're spending, 4 months or 3 months with like an amazing writer or whatever.
And you've also got people you can bounce ideas off of
exactly.
and work with.
Yeah, and you have 4 performers. You're kind of if you don't speak Spanish, you're the only 4 people you're talking to, right?
Right.
Like, so you kind of get to know people, and that's where I met most of the magicians I know, most of them on that gig. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Looking at your face.
Well, it's just.
Yeah. Like, what was I don't want this to be like a shitting on magician thing because I think we're all we all have our issues. But
so okay, here I'm going to sum it up.
Talk about pros and cons.
I'll sum it up.
Things you noticed.
I'll sum it up in a nutshell. So I was there to do a straight up comedy variety show. That's what I was there. I was doing like stuff that was like a little left of center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bit weird,
a bit alternative,
but still had like enough things that were solid skill-based things that if you didn't like the comedy, you'll like the other stuff. So I was very successful, and you could also read your audiences. A lot of the magicians that came to that gig came from cruise ships or came from the corporate magic world, and they were great at their craft, right?
Right.
They would come and see my show, and then at the end of the show, because we would go see each other's shows, and I'm always of the mindset that I'm not going to say anything or give any advice unless specifically asked for.
Yes, of course.
Because A, I don't want to waste my time, and B, it's not my show, I don't care.
Yeah, also, unsolicited advice is basically like you're just the adult talking to Charlie Brown at that point. It's like, I'm not listening.
Exactly. So, magicians watching my show, and then at the end of the show, the first thing they say to me is, you know what your show needs? And I'm like, can't wait for this. Yeah, you know what your show needs? Magic trick. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I was doing bits where I was like running competitions to stick clothes pegs on my face with audience members, doing like stuff with balloons and yo-yos and like ridiculously stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Magic trick, that's what your show needs, for sure. This is it. And then
they got a bit for you. They got a suggestion.
Yeah, it's already there. Continues explaining to me what this thing is, where he thinks I could get it, how easy it would be for me to learn it, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, fuck, man, you lost me at, do you know what you think, do you know what your show needs? I stopped listening.
That's the worst advice.
Yeah. So what I do, because I'm fucking me, I create my own magic trick, right? Where I pull a baseball cap out of the asshole of a stuffed rabbit that comes out of a pop-up hat. And I put that in my show.
But that's so you.
I know. I put that in my show.
Yeah.
And then I was like, there you go, dude.
I got my
magic trick in my show.
Yeah. Thanks, pal. I had a situation on a cruise ship once where the assistant cruise director said, let's have coffee. And I was like, okay. This was a Disney cruise that I did as a special guest a number of years back, because they had this like high roller cruise. And so they had Pixar people and actors, anyone who'd worked for Disney, right? And as an actor on a Disney series, they were like, can you come? And I was like, yeah, and I can do some magic too. I thought it would be really fun. So I go to do this thing, and I'm just I'm there for, that's the reason I'm there. Well, the assistant cruise director says, can we have coffee? And I'm like, sure. And he starts to tell me everything that's wrong with my show.
Oh.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, first of all, dude, this wasn't why I was here. This is an additional thing I gave you guys, like for no extra charge.
I'm going to let you know on a tip. You never want to have coffee with the boss. You just don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
They're not your friend,
No,
are they?
they're not.
That's the HR rule. HR is not your friend.
Yeah. Not even HR. Number one, usually the people hiring you are not fun people. Like, they're not the people you want to hang out with, and I want to be able to say what I want and be myself as much as possible off stage.
I feel like there's also a ton of jealousy because they know what you're being paid for the thing you're doing, and they think they can do it better.
That. I mean, because that, like I said, when I was in Mexico, all of those staff who were working their asses off to sort of present your show and help you do whatever, you treat them like people, you know what I mean? And they want to help. You treat them like shit, right? And they're going to turn on you, and you deserve it, and I think it's hilarious.
But that's the number one thing. That happened at Glasgow. There was a famous singer, I won't mention her name, but she's huge, who did Glasgow either last year or the year before, or maybe the year before, in order to keep things balanced and obscure, who was so rude to the staff that when she arrived late, and when she started to go overtime, they were like, nope, they unplugged everything, and that was it. That was the end of the concert.
Right.
They would, if she'd been nice, they would have been like, yeah, no problem, it's Glasgow.
Of course. No. There's no, like, for me, respect is number one. Like, I ran comedy festivals for years and years and years, and I have a book where there's comedians' names that I will never work with again.
You have a little black book?
I have a black book, totally. And it's mostly...
Can we put it online?
No, of course not. I've never told anyone who they are or whatever. It's just for me, so I don't forget.
Yeah.
But it's mostly stuff like they were rude to volunteers, or they were rude to my staff, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just general dickheads to work with, and that's, no, I can't.
There's a thing that happens as an actor when you go into an audition. And a lot of actors think it starts when they're in the room with the casting director and the producer. But it comes when you drive onto the lot with the security, when you go to the assistant behind the desk, how you treat the other actors in the waiting room. All that stuff gets reported back. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, you should just be a decent person and not have to worry about that, how to behave.
Yeah.
But that assistant cruise director, I actually secretly recorded the conversation because I was a bit...
That's illegal. You shouldn't tell people you're doing that.
It was in international waters.
I don't think that. I think you're going to have a hard time selling that. You might want to erase that part.
I want to delete that.
Yeah.
Okay, I went to record it, but then it got deleted. Anyway.
Or you say, I asked him for HR purposes if I could record the conversation, and he said, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let me put it this way. I may or may not have recorded the conversation for HR purposes. I can't remember if I did. Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
What was hilarious, I wouldn't have it now anyway, but if I had recorded it, but what was hilarious was he started giving me bits for the show, what your act needs. But they were all David Williamson's bits, because he's like, David Williamson was on the cruise and he did this. You should do that. You should do this. And I'm like, listen, man, like I love magic, but it's not my number one career.
So this is why I've never worked a cruise ship, because I get fired in the first 5 seconds.
And yeah, just getting on the ship, I think.
Yeah, I mean, whether I had the promo or the creds or not, I mean, I don't think I would like it. I wouldn't want to be there. It feels like boat jail to me. And
boat jail.
To me, like doing what I do, and the reason I have a career is because I get to choose what I'm doing.
Of course.
I get to change it. I get to decide I'm not doing this anymore, or I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
That's the part of the lifestyle and the freedom is the only reason I still do this.
Well, isn't that why you started to produce, so that you could be in more control of the stuff that you're doing?
No.
Or you just didn't want to perform as much?
No, mostly, like I grew up in a small town. I mean, smallish town, right? Outside of Toronto. Mm-hmm. They had a huge busker festival. I started juggling and stuff in high school. Cut to, there was no community for what we were doing. We had to build our own because it was a small town. And then you sort of get lucky and you get successful and you travel and you meet other people and whatever else. And then sort of because the people of your town supported you initially mm-hmm. and helped build your career and came out to your local shows and, you know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. To me, I saw it as like a give back. I saw it as like I now know all these awesome people mm-hmm. who can do this awesome shit. And I want to also everyone who supported us to be able to see this stuff. But
did you also feel like was there also a sense of like how other people were producing these and you're like, I can do this better, I can treat people better, I can pay people better?
I just, when I first decided, because I started producing like theater shows, mostly so that, and this is part of the difference between like a variety act and a stand-up, right? There was no open mics for stand-up or variety acts. So we would rent a theater, run our own shows, write our own material, and that's how we wrote shows in front of a live audience, right?
Wow, yeah.
And then it gets to the point where you're inviting friends and you're selling out shows and stuff, and you're like, okay, now we're at the next level, outside, thousands of people. How do we do it?
Right.
And then you just sit down and make a list. Okay, well, here's all the awesome things we've seen on our travels, right? And here's all the ways not to do it, right? Okay. Remember we stayed in that fucking hotel, and they didn't have this, and the water didn't work, and then no. Hotel's number one. Okay. Right, that kind of thing. Yeah. So you just sort of... And because I'd never produced anything else in my career, all I knew was doing it sort of DIY, right? Based on my performing experience and coming from it from the like performer's standpoint.
So what was the first one? What was the first? Because I think this is really useful for people to know that this kind of information, because more and more there's less and less work coming in from the corporate world or from other places. So you have to generate your own business. You have to generate your own work. And I feel like some of the stuff you're doing to make festivals is just the same as the kind of the stuff that we would need to do in order to find a venue to perform, to get paid, whether you're four-walling or you're getting a sponsor. So I think this is really useful for people to know the business side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an insane amount of work, and it's only for crazy people. Like, it's not lucrative. It's not anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of, to me, and I don't know, I can't explain this, being on stage or putting other quality performers on stage, I get the same out of it. Okay. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. It doesn't matter. So I'm looking for that drug or whatever. That's what keeps me going. Yeah. Right?
All right. Well, let's look at...
Also, I don't play well with others, so I like being
there is that, yeah. Now, Phil's not kidding when he says that. Like, we have a magic festival, and he's literally hired Billy Kidd to run point on the magicians, so he doesn't have to deal with them.
Hire Billy Kidd. We are in this together.
Together. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Billy is in charge of the magicians. You're in charge of the comedians. I want to talk about like how you approached the first festival you did versus how you approached this new one, this Magic and Shenanigans. Because I think what you've learned in between we can pick up.
Oh, man, there's like 100 festivals in between. The first one, at least. Yeah. Right, like 100 different major events.
Because the thing is this. Look, I know I'm going back and forth a bit on this, but watching you put together this magic festival, I just remember you saying to me, you calling me one day going like, hey man, I got the greatest idea. Oh dude, you got no fucking idea. It's a magic thing. And I'm like, you're kidding me, you're pulling my leg, right? And you were like, no, and from that you have built this thing I think has massive legs.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea. And and it was also something you noticed when you said to one of your ex-sponsors, right, who, when you said, I want to do a magic festival, they immediately ponied up the money and you thought, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah?
So they did, I mean, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Nobody ponies up all of the money.
No, some money, yeah.
I just want to be clear. I don't want people to hear this and be like, oh, it's easy.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
No, I've watched what it takes for you to get the money here.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, the pandemic was tough, right? Like, I ran successful street performer festivals, comedy festivals with, like, massive budgets.
Yeah.
Like, in smaller markets. I had a great time doing it, and I could have done it forever, for sure.
Right.
And then the pandemic, you're like, well, my life is over. And that was it. Like, it was essentially, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Everything we do is with people.
Exactly. I mean, luckily, I had produced a couple of TV shows while I was running my comedy festivals.
Okay.
So I ended up doing one TV show during the pandemic.
It was a game show, right?
Was it a game show? Not that one.
Okay.
No, the one before that, I did a show about variety performers. And I had Billy come during the pandemic. And then, again, we started hanging out and just talking about, like, crazy stuff. And she brought me to FISM.
Right.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah,
yes.
there was not a lot of work going on. I think it was still pandemic times, and which is the only reason I think she agreed to do it. And so we went to Quebec, and it was the first time I was, like, surrounded by magicians and people who loved magic.
And how did you feel in that environment?
I thought it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because everyone respects Billy. Right?
Sure, they do. Yeah.
And so
she's a working pro. I mean, she's one of the few people who works all the time, and she's a decent human being.
Yeah, she is amazing. But I'm there with her as her assistant. They have no fucking clue who I am.
You're wearing the shirt right now. It says Lady Magician's Assistant because she likes to, like, make fun of the whole Lady Magician thing.
Well, I noticed that. I noticed that at the Magic Festival, like, the producer of the festival and, like, other magicians are coming to me asking me questions about Billy, which was insane, right?
Yeah.
That's where I was like, okay, this is bananas. And then...
What kind of questions? What do you mean?
Hold on.
Okay.
But what I noticed was they made a big deal about referring to her as a female magician.
Right.
Female magician. And I'm like, okay, is that because her name is Billy and it's like it goes both ways? Or is it, and I'm like, that's kind of shit, right? Like, that's, why don't they just say magician Billy Kid?
We don't go, here comes a lady doctor.
So that's where Lady Magician came from. Because to me, I was like, and if they're going to, like, lean into this female magician... I was like, I mean, let's make it sound a bit fancier.
Lead into the joke.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Lady Magician's like a joke between her and I, but we went to Glastonbury together, and I was just there to, like, help her out. And I wore a T-shirt all weekend that said Lady Magician's Assistant.
Which is,
and we had buttons.
Yeah, buttons made, yeah, badges made, right?
Lady Magician, just so I could prove to the world that they exist.
I guess in case you're confused when you're watching this female performer on stage, she's a lady magician.
She's a lady magician.
She's a magician. But that's it, period.
The FISM thing, so that sort of, like, was my first, like, exposure en masse, like, to magicians, right? And I think, and then I went to the UK and I was hanging out with Billy, and, like, we were talking about magic because, I mean, that's, like, her world mostly.
Yeah. 100%.
And then I came home and my comedy festivals were sort of, like, ending and whatever else, and I was like, for some reason, like, in the back of my mind, and I kept bugging Billy about, I was like, Billy, we have to run, like, a festival or something together in Bath, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because she runs her own theater. She's business-minded. She knows what it's like. And she's a street performer. She knows how to gather a crowd.
I was just trying to figure out a way that I could go to the UK and do some more work and hang out, and, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of...
Yeah.
And then I came home, comedy festivals were over, and then I was like, I'm never going to produce a festival again. Like, I just got... And then my friend... Neil Rempel was here, who produces the Winnipeg International Children's Festival, and he's the one who does this camp that Billy and I teach at. And, like,
I want to talk about that. Circus camp.
So great. He and I have had this, like, massive disdain for magicians, mostly because, and this is my theory, people have only been exposed to bad magic. That's it. Because there's so much bad magic. So much. Right?
And you've seen this firsthand. This isn't something that you've seen firsthand.
I can't, my sort of whole thing. And then when I actually was exposed to good magic, Do you know what I mean? And I mean, it's still magic. Don't get me wrong, okay? But magic that, like, somebody who's not trying to make a cheesy joke or trying.
Okay, what do you think is a bad magic? Like, give me an example of something you saw a guy do, and you were like, it's bad magic.
Okay, anyone wearing a sparkly fucking vest, okay, is bad magic to me.
Okay,
anyone.
Let's do a vest burning ceremony. All right, okay.
Just, like that kind of thing, or just.
Is it a cheese factor, or is it the lack of connection with the audience?
I think it's a cheese factor. It's a
stock lines.
Your stock lines, like trying to like connect with your audience. Like, to me, the best magic I've ever seen has been like in a pub at an after party, and some dickhead magician friend of mine trying to one up each other.
Yeah,
that to me is because you're just like, how. When did he fucking start thinking about this, right? Like he put this card on the outside of a window, could have been there for days. Like, what's wrong with this dude? You know? But that's the stuff that intrigues me.
Okay.
The people. And most magicians, I mean, they're just... like, I've had magicians fucking try to convince me they actually have powers. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Like psychic mentalists?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Like,
I just did an interview with somebody recently, and they were telling me about this mentalist that they'd interviewed, and how... And it was I didn't quite know how to respond to it, because clearly the mentalist was treading that fine line between I am doing what I'm doing and I'm not doing what it's psychology, and it was kind of annoying. Right. I actually had a client in LA once. It was a very well-known mentalist who had worked for her, and she was a very wealthy client of mine. And I remember having dinner with her once, and she was telling me how this mentalist that she'd hired for something was doing regular readings now for them at their home, was advising them on, and he's really well known. Yeah. And it was a very difficult thing to...
I don't care about any of this.
Fucking like...
Yeah, like, I mean, these are the people I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah, but that's manipulative and that's fraud, you know?
Of course.
Anyway, I said, let's have dinner, and I want to and you can introduce him to me, because he'll know who I am. And then he kind of like, that was kind of putting an end to that. But yeah... Okay, all right.
So anyway, then I came up, we were sort of like hanging out, and we were talking about festivals and stuff, and I was just sort of going back through my entire career and like, what were the things that I liked most?
Right.
Also, I'm convinced, just watching all of the events that try to come back, and I'm talking specifically like in Canada, things I'm familiar with, they're trying to come back in the same way they did before the pandemic, and I don't think people want events in that way as much anymore, right? When it comes to like passing the hat busker festivals, nobody has cash anymore. Nobody carries cash.
Right.
It's a hard sell if you can't afford to pay for all the performers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think things are changing, and also Billy's fault, right? She exposed me to escape rooms.
Right.
Which I was, for my whole life, I'm like, why the fuck would someone...
I know, I hate escape rooms. You like them?
Listen, I've only ever done one. I did it with Hilby, the skinny German Juggle Boy, and Groovy Guy Collins, and I had a blast. I thought it was amazing. Yeah. Like, it was just, and that's the thing. To me, it is something that I was like, no thanks. I'm good. I'm gonna, right?
Yeah.
And then when I did it, I was like, oh, okay. So it really depends on who you're with.
Yes.
So, can I take something nobody really likes, magic, right?
But you like, there's a lot of people out there that like, magic is going through its golden era right now.
Golden era of magic.
It is, like the golden idol.
I mean, I was surprised that there wasn't as many magic festivals or magic events for the public that there is for circus and variety and comedy.
It's very few, yeah.
So this is also kind of part of my like, click, right? Can I convince people to come and see magic? But that's probably not going to be enough, and I don't want to hang the rest of my producing career only on magicians.
Okay.
So I kind of created this like amalgamation of like 3 events all in one.
Okay.
And the guided tour part with a professional comedian or variety performer or someone who can take you, you know, and sort of just look after you and move you around, to me, is great. Because you don't even have to like magic to still enjoy the festival. But my hope is that the magicians that we have are the best of the best.
Well, this is one of the things that I think was really smart that you did was you know what drives you crazy about magicians. So you spoke to Billy, you spoke to me, and we put together a list of people that we think are really, really good, that are entertaining, that don't do stock material, that the audience is going to love, and are also different.
Right.
And it was interesting finding 8 altogether, correct?
Yes.
8.
Well, there's 8 indoor magicians, and then there's another 4 outdoor magicians.
4 outdoor magicians, 8 indoor magicians, and 8 comedians.
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot of entertainers in this. This is, I mean, you're going big. You're starting very, I think what you said, I'm going to start this as if the festival's been going on for 5 years.
I mean, ultimately, yeah. So when I hatched this idea, I had sort of like plan A and plan B, like you do when you're starting anything new.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to put 5 years worth of my time into growing something, which is what I had to do with all the other events that I started.
Yeah.
Right? But I had time, and you know, I'm like, this needs to work or it's not going to work. And so I sort of skipped a few steps. I skipped a few steps, mostly for spite, because a lot of my friends told me it wasn't going to work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were like, no way this is going to work. This is a terrible idea. And I was like, well...
I didn't think it was a terrible idea. But,
yeah, but you're a magician.
Yeah, but I'm also a businessman. I can see the potential in this. Well, for me, it's just like a shit ton of organization. Like this is a masterpiece of organization. You just showed me the website. Which you built the website just for this, and that's intricate.
This is the biggest thing I've ever tried to produce. However, none of the pieces are new to me.
Right. It's like putting an act together with bits you already know.
Yeah.
So if
like I've organized a walking tour, a comedic walking tour before. I've had them at my festivals.
Yeah.
I've had friends do them for me.
Right.
I've been on them.
You've had street shows.
I've had street shows. Yeah, I've done.
And you've done indoor, and you know what it takes to get a venue and do an indoor show. So let's talk about the format because I think this is really smart.
I'm not going to tell the people how I did it because this is,
Yeah.
But I would love to try to explain it to people from my point of view.
Yeah, no, I think we should talk about that. All right, so let's talk about. All right, let's just talk about what you want to share about the festival, how you put it together, and what you are willing to share, and not all the secrets, obviously, because we don't want everybody else just copying everything that you do.
Well, I mean,
but what could be valuable to people to
learn?
I'm
not really worried about that, but it's a lot of work, like you said.
Yeah, you got to be willing to do a shit ton of work. So first of all, you've got 8 magicians, but what's great about they're only doing 10 minutes each.
Yes.
Each show is 10 minutes. You might end up doing like 4 to 8 in an evening, right?
So the way the tour works is there are 8 venues.
Right.
1 magician in each venue, and there are 8 tours.
Okay.
So 30 people that are guided from venue to venue to venue with their comedic tour guide. And once inside the venue, the magician does their 10 minutes to 30 people.
Right.
Some standing, some sitting, some in basements, some in alleyways, like all indoor.
Back of a barbershop, who knows?
Back of a barbershop, on top of a coffee shop.
I love it.
All sorts of random venues. And the magician has the opportunity to use that venue in whatever they're doing, right? To make it unique to, to
make it their room.
To make it their room for the weekend. And then the group leaves, the magician resets, another group shows up, and it's rinse and repeat. So the people who buy a ticket will see 4 magicians on a 2-hour tour.
Right.
And then
simultaneously
4 other magicians and 4 other tours are happening and interacting with each other outside.
Yes, and you also have, and then each tour is being guided by a professional comedian
or improv
artist,
actor, or
not just some college kid who's trying to get credit.
No.
It's the top pro is guiding everybody from venue to venue, and then also you have moments of street performing as well.
Yeah, so we have also sort of an outdoor component because we wanted it to be accessible to everyone, even since the tickets are limited and maybe you can't afford to buy a ticket,
Yeah.
So we have 4 magicians outside doing like street shows and things. We have like some roving characters.
Yeah.
There's going to be some other stuff, like activities and things like that, little gift shop, fun things that anyone can come and participate in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing is being run. So you're running the comedians, and then Billy's running the magicians to make sure that they're doing their thing and everything stays on. And every magician stays on time.
Butter together.
Yeah, and it will all be beautiful.
Well, that's the.
We should do another episode of this after the festival.
Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah, maybe, well, after this festival, I assume Billy and I won't be friends anymore. So that's what I think is going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's going to be like, no, never again. Yeah. I think it's. I think you've got 8. Well, I'm in it, so let's say 7 great magicians and me who are performing. Your comedians are fantastic. The approaching, I've watched you just like approach venues. You just go in and talk to people, right? I mean, how would somebody approach a venue to do a show? Because that's often the toughest.
I mean, ultimately, the only marketable skill I have is a Rolodex full of people who I've done favors for, right? Like, I mean, it's crazy, but like, I'm the bottom rung of any sort of entertainment ladder, but it still comes down to a lot of times who you know, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to meet the right people who are willing to support the arts in a crazy way and can't afford it, and that's just something that's invaluable.
Right.
So to me, every time I meet someone, it doesn't matter where they work or where they're from or whatever, you treat them like they're the most interesting person in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Because you want them to remember you, because maybe one day you're going to end up, and then it's a really small world.
It truly
is. Really
is.
small, tight. Like, especially, I'm from Kitchener, Waterloo. I was born and raised there. I started my whole career there. I ran 4 different festivals there. Mm-hmm. I've worked for every single corporate client there, so I have ties and connections there, which is why I'm starting this festival there.
Yeah.
Because I have the best chance of making it work the first year, because I already have support.
And now when that does work, touch wood, when that does work and you have proof of concept, this is something you can do anywhere in the world.
Yeah, ideally, I'm kind of running it as a pilot project, because I think the format, as insane as it sounds from the production side of it, the experience part for a person is super easy and easy to sell.
Yeah.
And that's how my comedy festivals grew and got bigger and bigger, is that I essentially sold the format, or this is how I did it, to other surrounding neighborhood cities, and then you build a tour.
Yeah.
Right? I just got back from Kansas, where, a producer there took my comedy festival format, because I wasn't using it here, and tried to do it there, and now he's got a comedy festival.
Amazing.
So that's the idea.
Well, I just think I've watched you do this. I've watched you go to venues. I was asking you the other day when you told me how you got a sponsor. This whole idea of, and I think the number one tip I can give anybody is massive preparation. Do your research, and then you told me created a pitch document for that sponsor,
to me,
and they said to you, and what did you say? That never happens, right?
Well, yeah, it was weird, but to me that's essential. That's how, this is 25 years ago, but that's how you were. You didn't have Instagram and social media, and it didn't matter how many followers you had and stuff. You had to sell them a product and get them interested in wanting to work with you. Right? So the more information you give them, the more they can make a decision based on, is this going to work?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Also, never put aside any idea, no matter how crazy it is. Right? Like, that's sort of every time I think of an insane idea, I'm like, but if it works, it'll be genius.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much. You try to find the person who can help you with that idea, and if not, you let it go. And it doesn't go anywhere. You save it for later. Right?
Right.
And that's kind of it. It's just.
It all comes down to relationships.
It all comes down to money, really.
Okay.
Because you can't do anything without money. And now it's even harder because things are way more expensive.
Yeah.
Accommodations and flights and hospitality and venues are closed because of the pandemic. And it's not, depending on what happens with our economy, like, arts are not going to get an influx of dough anytime soon.
Not anytime soon.
So that's the hard part. And then it's figuring out, how do you do it with as little and still be proud of what it is.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why it's a bit DIY. But That's kind
Well, I think it's great. I remember you put a document together, you sent it to this one sponsor, and they called you and said, no one has ever done that. No one's ever shown what we get out of it, what's in it for us. Well, it's always been gimme, gimme, gimme.
Well, that's the thing. In my mind, it's a transaction.
Yeah.
No matter what you're asking for, whether it's money or free shit or whatever you need, right?
Right.
Help, assistance, volunteers, anything you're asking for, they should, in their mind, be saying like, well, what do we get out of it? And not in a shitty way. That's just how the world works, right? So if you can already tell them, here's all the shit you're going to get out of it, then they don't feel bad trying to come back to you and say, well, can you do this for us? You know, like, here's what I'm going to do, the end.
Right.
We're not even going to talk about it. This is it. And in my opinion, it's more than enough. And if it's not, I will call the next person.
Right. Because that's the maximum. You're just going to go and say, this is all I can do.
I don't have time to negotiate, right? Like, it's the same. Every festival I've ever run, all the performers get paid the same. I don't give a fuck who you are. It doesn't matter how big you are. This is it. This is what I'm offering.
Yeah.
If you have to say no, respectfully, I get it, right? I wish I had more money.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah.
You know, and there will come a time, though, when I can get to the point where I can afford to pay more, and I'll just pay the same people that helped me out early, pay them more.
Of course.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
So
again, relationships, loyalty, and working, and I think, and let's end on this, which I remember you saying the number one thing for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, was you said you want to work with people you like.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're going to be hanging for a whole weekend. These have to be decent people. The comedians, the magicians, everyone's going to be like a decent human being, number one.
Yeah, of course. If you're a dickhead, see you later. I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You cause me a problem, I'm out. This is also why I don't get to talk to any of the magicians. You know what I mean? That's Billy's problem.
Yeah, but the good news is that she's only brought in people that she wants to hang with.
Well, that's great.
And they're good. They're all good. They're all wonderful.
I can deal with one magician at a time. That's my rule.
And we've got 3 lady magicians performing.
I know lady magicians are amazing.
I love lady magicians.
I mean, there's not enough of them.
Thanks so much, Phil.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll talk to you after the festival.
Okay, ciao.
Okay, cheers.
Huge thanks to Phil for spending the time and opening up and telling us as much as he did. You could tell that I was really trying to pry the information out of him. He was, for someone who's not a magician, he holds his secrets very dear. But I'm really happy to say that he really opened up and gave us a lot of advice. And you can take that advice from how to approach people as a magician, as a human being, and also kind of how to go after a venue. I'm not saying necessarily go to a magic festival, but you can certainly use a lot of those techniques for finding a venue of your own, which we talk about a lot on this podcast, and approaching clients. Be over-prepared, let everyone know what it is that they're going to get from working with you. I think that's the greatest advice. Okay, also, here's the details for the festival. Now, I know that podcasts are supposed to be evergreen and we're not really supposed to date them, but specifically, I'm going to put this in here because it's also an historic record of the first time this kind of magic festival ever happened. So, and this is the first one. So it's called Magic and Shenanigans. And the website is magicandshenanigans.com. The guided tour festival starts May 23rd through May 25th, 2025. Get your tickets at the website. It's approximately 2.5 hour walking tour experience going from venue to venue. It's in Uptown Waterloo in Canada, Ontario, Canada. So come check it out if you're in town. If you're not, you want to make a trip, come see something really unique. We are literally bringing in magicians from all around the world. It is one heck of a lineup. You will see performers such as, obviously, myself. There's going to be Nick Wallace from Canada, Laura London from England, Andrew Eland from Canada. Andre is coming in from Czechoslovakia. Notice I didn't say his last name because I can't pronounce it. Keith Fields. Keith is, of course, from England originally. Malin Nielsen's coming in from Sweden. Rachel Wax is flying in from New York. It's an incredible lineup. We've got outdoor street magicians, Magic Brian, Jack Wise, Ron Pearson, the magician, not the juggler, and a bunch of comedians. The comedians, we've got incredibly funny comedians that are part of the Shenanigans tour that will be guiding you and probably making fun of all of us. So that is the Magic and Shenanigans tour, magicandshenanigans.com. Check it out. Check out the website. Thanks so much. Now, this was going to be a half-hour episode, but I've just let it all go into 1 hour, really, because there was just so much good information and it all kind of flowed. And, I wanted to give you the best I could give you. So there you go. You're very, very welcome. Don't forget that Magicians Only is sponsored by you-know-who, Magic on the Go, an encyclopedia of magic in your pocket. Just recently, we had I just finished an entire playlist on a trick called the Byford Aces, which it's a massive playlist. I think there's over 15 different videos. I lost count of all the videos that are in there. But basically what it was I found this old, from the 50s, this old magic trick invented by a guy called Byford. And it's with 4 aces and it's completely self-working. There's not an ounce of physical sleight of hand in it at all. There can be. There's elements in the trick if you want to add some sleight of hand in there to make it a little more amazing. But essentially, this trick is one of the most amazing self-working card tricks I've ever found. And the more I worked it and played, I was amazed. When I read it, I thought, you're not going to get away with this. But the impact of it when I did it for really, really smart people was amazing. So I came up with a million different variations on it, different handlings, researched some history on it. And so I created what I call the Byford Aces project. And it is, I think, next to the Lazy Magician's card trick, I think this is the greatest self-working card trick there is. It is amazing. Now, to prove it's amazing, Billy Kidd, who we were talking about earlier in the show, she's a professional magician and she uses it in all of her walk-around work, especially when she's working for scientists, think tank people, engineers, people who you would think would have the kind of brain to figure out a self-working card trick. No. Essentially, they mix the aces up with other cards, they deal them into packets, they put them in their pockets, and they choose one of their pockets, and all the aces jump into that pocket by magic. And you don't touch the cards. It's a killer effect. It's easy for them to understand and follow, and the variations are amazing. There's one variation that I came up with that I showed the famous mentalist Banachek in Las Vegas, who's a friend of mine. I showed Banachek this version and he thought I was relying on luck. Never. So that's the Byford Aces, just one of 900 videos that are on Magic on the Go. Please go check it out, magiconthego.com. Thank you so much for sticking with us for the whole hour. Much love from me to you. Be kind, be good to yourself. Bye for now.